All right, we got to get one more before we're officially good for Saturday night for Mile High Insiders. We got that last wheel and Sports Illustrated Mile High Huddle. Come on, baby, she's online. Welcome in. Saturday night, always a lot of fun. Mile High Insiders, and I am joined by good friend, co-host Luke Patterson. Luke, how are you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Yeah. Dog Days of July. Here we are. It's Mile High Insiders. I'm pumped to be here. Having a good week. Got the daughter in flag football this week. I was just talking to John about that. So I'm pumped, man. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start getting to see some of the football at its purest form, as they would say, right, or whatever that means. Flag football for co-eds and all that fun stuff. So I'm pumped for a good show. Seeing we already have some familiar names in the house. Andrew Morrow, I see you. Jay, how you doing? John D. Herrera, how are you? And this is Mile High Insider. She's Nick Kendell. I am Luke Patterson. You're joining us with John on the ones and twos. Buwana Beast, you know him, you love him. You can catch us every Saturday night here at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Buwana Beast, if you want to get at John at Twitter, it's John K MHH. If you'd like to talk to Nick, at Nick Kendell MHH. If you'd like to talk to me, at Luke Patterson LP. And away we go. Nick, it's summer. We're in those dog days of July. We're still under the Aaron Rodgers microscope, right? Every little thing. I know the match happened last week and some bizarre behavior from Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that, but it's what we've got right now, Nick. Yeah. And it's the breadcrumbs that we're trying to follow. Anytime a Broncos speaks or a former Broncos speak, we dissect it. I know Derek Wolfe had some great comments on Von Miller, but we're in those dog days of summer, man, right before training camp, where you hope that the Denver Broncos are taking good care of their bodies, good care of their minds, so they can come into training camp with a fresh start.
Yeah, man, getting plenty of sleep, drinking plenty of water, getting your nutrients. I feel like I'm talking to myself here as well. I'm projecting, but and staying out of trouble. That's more of a Kansas City Chiefs thing to do, right? Nobody driving around with illegal weapons in their trunk or any assaults out there. I mean, Frank had assaults. He was a first round talent that fell to the second round. I think he was kicked out of Michigan as well for that. So KC, man, they're a really fun football team. Patrick Mahomes is a likable dude, but they have some skeletons in the closet, right? Just year after year. I don't know if you remember the just tragedy. I mean, there's no other way to put it but a tragedy. The Javon Belcher thing. Yep. Oh, I remember in college.
I was just thinking about that, Nick. It's funny how such a tragic, not funny, I shouldn't say that.
No,
it's bizarre how such a tragic situation gets swept under the rug as soon as teams start winning. I know Andy Reid was very shaken as he was right there during that whole event, but we digress. Anytime we can take a shot at the Chiefs, we will do that. Broncos, they have been no stranger to trouble in the past, but I think with George Payton and Vic Fangio, they're setting up a newer culture where accountability and work and being a good teammate is something that they're definitely putting emphasis on this year. So I would hope that the Denver Broncos stay out of the news for all the wrong reasons and only stay in the news for the right reasons. And Nick, I'm curious, that golf showing in Moab, John Elway's usually
is it Montana?
Is it Montana? I don't know. I thought it was Utah. Well, there was the match, right, with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, but then there was another golf event later on, and that's a golf event. It's like a pro-am, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And John Elway usually participates in it. Aaron Rodgers told Charles Barkley, I'll tell you, in Moab or Salt Lake City or wherever. Yeah. So I'm like, golf courses, John Elway, Aaron Rodgers, Nick Kendell. Hey, we forgot about that.
Yeah, man. Elway. He does like himself some golf, but that's he's a little bit more time to do that now. Let's say hello to everybody in here. We got a lot of people in here. It is Saturday night. Make sure you guys, if you are joining us today, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share. If you're joining us on YouTube, click those thumbs up or hearts. If you're joining us on Facebook, subscribe, like, and share. Perfect. Yeah, we got a little bit off there from the beginning. Also, if you're on Twitter, follow us at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_pod. And over on Facebook, follow us, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. I'll be honest with you. I'm not big on the golf. I know that my old hometown is the center of the golf universe, I think, this week with the John Deere Classic. Higher Learning's coming in here. Hey, Broncos country. Good to see you. We got Mo Ron in the house as well. I always love Mo Ron. With the, sorry, John. My hands.
Makes me think of the water boy, right? Hey, Mo Ron. Dylan Von Ark's in the house as well. Ryan,
Yeah,
I see you. Don Olson, how you doing? Yeah, great.
Willie.
In the shop, Willie, my guy. Willie, you'll be so proud of me, man. I don't know if you caught us the last couple of weeks, but I've been doing really, really good. I'm not even going to bring up that trending topic that you and I argue about because I'm doing really good with it, Nick, and I'm going to try to keep it that way. The timer is on. It's 7 minutes into the show. Willie, give me my props, Willie, because I'm doing well.
Yeah, Willie loves you guys and he hates me. No, I think I maybe made a joke at Missouri's expense once.
Hey,
Stu Peak in the house, Stu. Good to see you, Stu. Clayton Huron in the house as well. Good to see you, Clayton. Good to see everybody in here. I saw that Cindy was in the house as well. Where is Cindy? Nice. There she is. Cindy Barrett Albert. Good to see you. Good afternoon, boys. Denver Broncos for life. Thank you very much, Cindy. Looks like she's out and about in the wilderness there with her picture. It's good to see. We got Willie saying the horse or equestrian poultry padlock there. I appreciate you. But yeah, no, let's get into it. Our conversation today is actually let's answer Don first because it kind of leads into it. Hey guys, hello Don over on Facebook. If you're joining us on Facebook, click those thumbs up. Hey guys, which teams do you think will crash and burn this season? Not everyone can make the playoffs. Well, they did expand it to a seventh team, right? So participation trophies out there in the NFL for those three wild card spots these days. No, just gotta get in a jab there. It'll be good for the Broncos, hopefully. Yeah, who do you think? Don, that's a good question. Thank you very much, John. Man, who's gonna crash and burn this scene? High expectations, gonna flounder.
I hope Kelberman's not listening because I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys, number one. Yeah, what's up, man? Sorry, but I don't care if you're on Hard Knocks again. I don't care if you've got the richest stadium. I don't care if you used to be America's team. The Dallas Cowboys always find a way to mess things up, and it's not. I'm not going to blame it on Dak Prescott. I'm not going to blame it on Ezekiel Elliott. I'm going to blame it on Jerry Jones because no matter what happens, no matter who the players are, no matter who the coaches are that are shuffled in and out of that building, they always run into the same problem, and it's Jerry Jones. He's meddling. I always expect him to be a problem. Cowboys made the playoffs last year, or no, they were out. The Washington football team made the playoffs in that disastrous league. So off the top of my head, that's one team. And then Nick, I think about the Seahawks because I know Russ Wilson is trying to come out and trying to be, a good attitude and come into the season because the guy's an absolute baller and a competitor. But Nick, he does not want to be in Seattle either. Okay. I think that's like almost Tom Brady-esque where you're going to see it a year down the road. Russell's out of Seattle. You can see that the rest of that division with San Francisco and the Los Angeles Rams are making moves, not only at the quarterback level, but on the team level as well. Very, very dangerous team. So off the top of my head, I'm going Dallas Cowboys, Seattle Seahawks.
Those are two really good ones. I'm looking at the playoff odds right now and teams that I think are maybe too high of their odds. The Broncos actually have higher odds than this team, which surprised me, but this is a perennial power, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've had a great defense for years. Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Ben Roethlisberger will make the Hall of Fame, most likely. I know that the passing stats have exploded over the past few years, so like any NFL quarterback who's played 5, 10, or 10 plus years, probably good enough to make the Hall of Fame just with how it's been recently, at least starting caliber.
Do you agree with that? Do you think Big Ben deserves it in? I mean, you're right. There's an argument. Yeah, there's an argument. You're right. That's a really good question because that's a good team. You're right. The Steelers, and then Big Ben, should he be in the Hall? I just don't like the Steelers. So I think he should. Yeah, I think he should. That's a good point.
You have like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, who like arguably are the best ever. And if that's your threshold, then nobody's getting in, right? So I think there has to be a threshold under that. I have a hard time with, I think Big Ben is the most deserving of these three, but Eli Manning, the 2 Super Bowls especially over the Patriots, his regular season's bad, but like you can't write the story of the NFL without Eli Manning, the history of his bloodline as well. That's a really hard one. I also have a hard time with Phillip Rivers, who was incredible for years, put up stats galore. I don't think it's his fault that his teams fell apart at the end. But that's another one that I have a hard time with. And Gary Leeds Palmer coming in here, probably with the stars because he is the star of my life. I love you, Gary. Kisses. And I mean that in a manly way. But
we're off the rails.
MHI. No, yeah, we have to. Thank you so much. I just wanted to be silly there. Love MHI. Love you guys. You guys rock Broncos country is a state of being. Thank you so much, Gary. Man, you're always coming in and keeping the lights on in here. We appreciate that. So Steelers, I'm actually surprised their odds are lower than the Broncos. I'm looking at teams that have higher odds than the Broncos that I'm like, man, am I going to buy stock in this team? The Dolphins, am I buying stock in Tua right now? Probably not. I really like Brian Flores. I like their defense, but they're still young. I don't know if Tua's got it, man. I know it's hard to judge him off his rookie season. I'm not buying in on Tua. I'm very much a proponent of like believing the splash when you see it. And we saw that with Justin Herbert last year, unfortunately. So Kyler Murray when he came in, Patrick Mahomes, I did not see it with Tua last year. He just looked very pedestrian. So
who's
that's
the backup. Who's the backup for Tua right now?
Oh man,
I'll go to the chat line too. Who's the backup quarterback? Because as we all know, Ryan Fitzmagic went to the Washington football team. Jacoby Brissett, my guy, right? Travis Weber, what's up, buddy? Peter Middleton saying good morning from Cambodia.
Ooh.
What's going on, Peter? Appreciate you. Yeah, Mile High morning salute. Maybe at your nighttime, you can do some nighttime coffee with Nick and kind of flip those roles around since you're in Cambodia. I love seeing Broncos country everywhere. And in the shop, Willie, also agreeing with you. Travis Weber, I see a good evening, Broncos country, a loyal supporter. Hope you guys all had a great 4th and a safe 4th as well. But in the shop, Willie saying Tua's a bum. Starting to agree with you a little bit, Nick. No, he's not saying he's a bust, but right now, the expectations for Tua this year are high. It's the wait's over. It's time to get going. Like you said, the team, we're buying Brian Flores. It's just the quarterback, right? And it's a quarterback-driven league. So that's tough, Nick. You're exactly right.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one. I don't know if I trust their offensive line yet either. That's another one. They have some good weapons, but they're a little, Jalen Waddle, we know rookie wide receivers take a little bit of time, even though his speed is going to translate right away. I like Devontae Parker. What about the depth there? Not sure. Gesicki, he's a good tight end. Is he a great tight end? I'd take Noah Fant 10 out of 10 times versus him. Yep. So I don't trust their pass rush either. I don't think they actually have like dominant front 7 players. I really like Christian Wilkins. They traded for Bendarek McKinney. They have good back 7. I just don't know about them. On the other team, I saw somebody mention it earlier here. Let me find it real quick. Somebody had a good one. There we go. Higher learnings. The Saints. Jameis Winston, Hill. I'm not buying that one. Also, the NFC South is tough. The Buccaneers are great. The Falcons last year had a winning record. If they would have, had a winning record, I think, in the first half of the games, and then they blew like a lot of games. Like they have their Pythagorean whatever for the wins losses. They should have won way more games. So I'm expecting a major bounce back from the Falcons. And who's the other team in the NFC South? The Panthers, second year under Rule as well. So I think the Saints are a team that they have a great defense still. I'm not buying any stock in Hill or Jameis turnover Winston. So that's another team I expect to regress a lot. Even though Breeze wasn't good last year, you're still going to kind of have the fallout from losing a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback.
Saints are in a tough spot. That's really good. Higher learnings. And Tim Durr's also coming in here saying how much are the Saints spending on quarterbacks? A lot of money, right? Especially for one of those gadget quarterbacks in Taysom Hill. And I know we all love him, folks, but go look at his fumbles when you watch the film and stuff like that. There's some cute college plays and stuff that he can do in the NFL, but when you start to talk about longevity, momentum, all kinds of other stuff, it's teams are starting to catch on, and Taysom Hill is not getting any younger. So while I respect him and what he can do, not the quarterback, or even I wanted to say traditional quarterback, but not even the newer quarterback we're starting to see, the dual threats. So
he's traditional in a way that's like back in the leather helmets.
In the shop on Willie saying you're wrong on Winston. No. Jameis, man, 30 for 30. Willie, come on, man. Jameis, you loving Jameis? Now I know Jameis, got his name got mentioned a little bit around here as a, retread quarterback, but the Saints, that's a really good team. Quarterback though. Nick, when I saw Saints, you know what I thought of? Aaron Rodgers. How great would it be if you're Aaron Rodgers and you want to go to another team? What about the Saints? Let's say you play hardball with the Packers. You go back and you want to get traded next year, something along those lines. It's hard to say. Maybe Aaron Rodgers and the Saints come out of nowhere and become a dark horse candidate. Hard to say. Looks like Nick froze up just a little bit, so we'll give him a second to get back on the wire. But Peter Middleton coming in here saying the Kansas City Chiefs, there's now film on how to beat Patrick Mahomes. And if he's injured, are the Chiefs really any better than the Broncos or Chargers? Peter, you bring up a really good point. How did the Kansas City Chiefs just get annihilated? Linebackers, not just linebackers, but you've got athletic, smart, and versatile linebackers. Pat Mahomes was under more duress than any quarterback in the Super Bowl, and that's because of those linebackers that kept flying around. He scrambled backwards for, what was it, upwards to 400 yards or something like that. Tampa Bay has absolutely given a blueprint. By no means does that make that easy, because if you're the Broncos and you're finally loading up on your secondary players, you've got Pat Surtain, you've got a host of other DBs, Kyle Fuller, Bryce Callahan, you're hoping has a bounce back year. Michael Ojemudia, you want him to take another step up. You got Ronald Darby in the house. It's one of those things where the athletic linebacker is still missing. And don't get me wrong, when Baron Browning was drafted here, I was through the moon because I loved Baron Browning. Got to scout him down at the Senior Bowl. Absolutely love him. Love his teammate, Jonathan Cooper. But these things take time, folks. And it's a lot like the tight end position. When you look at Noah Fant, it's taken Noah Fant a little bit to get going as that first round tight end. Well, it's going to take these athletic linebackers a little bit to get going, considering Noah Fant was a first round draft pick, and some of these linebackers that the Broncos are picking up are now in the middle rounds. So while I respect Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson and what elements they can bring to the game, if we're being honest, and you put Josie Jewell or Alexander Johnson on another NFL team, I'm not 100% sure that they're going to be 3-down linebackers. And that's not me throwing shade. That's just trying to keep the truth. So absolutely a blueprint. The Broncos, I think they're going to start to transition with some more athletic linebackers. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And thinking about time and always spending his time and his monetary donations with us here on MHI. Appreciate you so much. Slide and Glide Brothers with a $4.99 super. How y'all doing during these boring days of summer? Go Broncos. We're doing great. Slide and Glide. Absolutely love it. I hope you had a great 4th of July out there, Broncos country, and everybody stayed safe. Casey Martin saying, Luke flying solo. Keep up the good work, man. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes internet goes out, things happen, weather happens, and we just keep it rolling. Keeping it rolling along is Andrew Morrow with a $1.99 super. Keep it classy, gentlemen. Hashtag get Rodgers. Hashtag MHH rules. We appreciate you so much, Andrew. Thank you for your donation here on MHI. I am Luke Patterson. You can find me at Luke Patterson LP. John Buwana Beast on the 1s and 2s, making sure I am never alone, and we will always get there. Gary Lead with those 100 stars. We appreciate you so much. Travis, I see you out there, man. You're always supporting us. And guys, if you really want to support us, it does not always have to take a monetary donation. Please like, subscribe, and get your podcasts over to your phones, get it over to your speakers, your Bluetooth, enable it, and find Mile High Huddle wherever you get Spotify, iTunes, and you can get those things going. Nick's back. If you want to check out our articles, get on over to milehighhuddle.com, get at Mile High Huddle on Twitter, and away we go. So, Nick, I was talking about the Saints as a possible dark horse candidate, and when you were smiling and it was frozen, and I was like, man, maybe he's just clowning me because I don't know. It's silly. Could it be a dark horse candidate coming out? I mean, everybody, Aaron Rodgers. Well, you know what? John Clayton's talking about teams a year from now possibly coming out of the woodwork. If Aaron Rodgers decides to play with the Packers, we're going to see more movement. It will no longer just be the Denver Broncos connected to one MVP, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good call. The Saints are a dark horse for Aaron Rodgers, and that's a team that they have Sean Payton, who's a great coach. Jameis Winston has a lot of tools. So he's a guy that could, he could click, right? First overall pick, all the arm talent in the world, had LASIK. He's one that can make every throw. It's just the game. He hasn't made good decisions. He's kind of like there's some Drew Lock to his game, but better arm talent. But there's maybe also a little bit more intelligent. But as far as the turning the ball over, a bunch of stuff there, he's definitely a chance. It's just so volatile, and we can only go on the tape that we have so far. So I'm in the shop with Willie saying Winston will absolutely make the jump. I also do think that the Saints' weapons are a little bit uninspiring. I like Michael Thomas a lot, but he's very much a system, I think, player as well. He accumulates a lot of stats because of who he played with and where he plays in the slot. You're getting a lot of value from him in the slot. He's not doing a lot average depth of target wise. Alvin Kamara is great, but it's also shorter depth of target. Who are the explosive playmakers making plays vertically down the field? I don't see them on the Saints. You need those with Jameis Winston with how he plays. So he could make the jump. Absolutely. I'm not going to speak in absolutes because all we can go on is what he's done so far.
You're not a Sith Lord. You're not a Sith Lord, and
exactly.
you don't speak in absolutes. Hey, is Emmanuel Sanders still on that Saints roster?
I think he signed with the Bills.
Did he really? He is
he's
with
on
the Bills.
Oh
man, as if they needed any more wide receiver help, and they get Emmanuel Sanders. Good for Emmanuel. Good for Josh. Good for the Bills.
Josh. Good for Diggs as well. Speaking of Diggs, good for everybody, Stu coming in here.
Yeah, Gabriel, love it. Ooh, Stu McPeak.
I love you, Stu.
Thanks,
good
buddy.
to see you, Stu. Stu's back. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for holding down the fort. My computer decided, you know what? It's time that we're going to do an update. The screen froze, and then all of a sudden it said loading wheel updates are in progress. So
we've all been there, man. I've been there. You've been there. John's been there. It happens, especially when you're doing these live streams, and that's part of the fun of it, man. And you know, people got to listen to me flap my gums, and which I have no problem doing ever. And when it's talking about football, and we thank everybody for joining MHI. He is Nick Kendell. I'm Luke Patterson, John K on the ones and twos. And here we go. I want to open it up a little bit. Is this a Broncos cast, Gary Smith? It is. And that's a great transition because we're talking about the playoffs, right? Playoffs. Yep. How do the Broncos get to the playoffs, Nick? Because you know that the Kansas City Chiefs will win the AFC West division. So if you're the Denver Broncos, you're looking at a wild card. What do the Broncos have to do to get to that wild card? And I'm not just asking you to give me a record. I'm not just asking you to tell me to trade for Aaron Rodgers. The guys that we have right now, the quarterbacks that we have right now with Aaron Rodgers and Drew Lock, that's what we're rolling with for the sake of this argument because we deal with the actual reality of the situation. So how do the Broncos return to the wild card?
Yeah, the Broncos return to the wild card by staying healthy this season and protecting the football and going out there and having a top 5 defense. I think the formula is pretty simple, harder to execute. Last year, they were a team on the upper end of the bell curve as far as being struck by injuries, but they were still not going to be probably a playoff team either way with how bad the quarterback play was, the lack of depth at the cornerback position, young offense as well. First year in a new system again, in a year where things were difficult to kind of get things put in place because of what's going on in the world. So I think that the Broncos formula is simple. On paper, getting there is harder. And a lot of it, obviously, we don't want to beat the dead horse at this point or beat a dead horse. Quarterback play will matter a lot, but quarterback doesn't have to be amazing, right? They don't have to go out there and win games. They just need to go out there, execute the offense, get it to the talent that there's so much of it on this team on the offensive side of the ball, and let the defense play with a lead for once, or just not play with down 2 scores with a quarter and a half left to play, because that's just been all too familiar for this team.
Nick, if your safeties are worried about wide receivers, that opens up the game, the running game, immensely. When you've got the strong safety and the free safety worried about Colton Sutton, about Jerry Jeudy, about Tim Patrick, about KJ Hamler, about Noah Fant. I can go on and on and on. But this team, Nick, they can run the ball. And I think this is going to be a new transition. I don't know if it's going to be a Pat Shurmur thing. It's not going to be his signature offense. But I think George Payton is setting this team up to run the ball. Whether or not Melvin Gordon is going to execute the way that I think he will remains to be seen. But that's why they trade up to go get a Javonte Williams. Mike Boone, he will be a special teams addition, as you have said on the show many, many times. But don't miss Mike Boone. I mean, he's going to come in, change the pace back, and we'll see what this guy can do. I'm not expecting much, but you know what? I would like to be pleasantly surprised with Mike Boone. If you're Royce Freeman, you are undoubtedly on the outside looking in. You've got Levante Bellamy already above you. So you've got to run the ball if you're going to make it to the postseason, so that you can support your defense. This defense is so tired of never playing with a lead. And while I can understand that, how do you change momentums? With takeaways. This defense that should be top 5, I need a lot more takeaways. I need Vic Fangio to win a game or 2 in the month of September. And I see it on the chat line right now. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm expecting them to beat the Broncos twice. I hope I'm wrong at least one of the times. The Chargers, that's going to be tough. But Nick, the Raiders swept the Broncos last year. Unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable, embarrassing first game. But if you're the Denver Broncos, the first key, you got to sweep the Raiders, in my opinion. It's not just because I hate the Raiders, but it's because I see them as the worst team in this division. The Chargers have Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert scares me.
Yeah, Justin Herbert, I will say I'm a big stats guy. And there's the quarterback statistic that typically tends to fluctuate year to year a lot, and that is quarterback ability under pressure. Year to year, you do see it tend to be like, some quarterbacks are better under pressure and some are worse, but like to be on the far ends or extremes, those tend to regress pretty massively and go back and forth. And the number one extreme last year for really extremely good under pressure, highest passer rating under pressure last year was Justin Herbert. You should expect him to regress somewhat to the mean there this season. The worst quarterback in the NFL last year under pressure, statistically speaking, was Drew Lock. So you would expect him some positive regression towards the mean this year. So they probably won't flip. They'll probably tend to stay in that neighborhood. But they should not be. Herbert should not be as good there, and Lock as bad. So Herbert, while he can improve a lot of ways, I'm not quite ready to crown him as like this undoubtedly incredible talent yet. I think he'll be a top 12 quarterback in the league. I don't know if he's the point in 2021 though, where it's like, they have Herbert, the Broncos don't have a chance to beat that team. Kind of like where I look at Kansas City, where the Broncos are right now with their questions at quarterback, where I agree with you. Beating the Kansas City once would be probably unlikely. Anything can happen in one game, but I would not probably bet on them in either game this season with how they stack up right now, unless the Chiefs have another, player with an Uzi in their trunk.
And and maybe it's a bit of an overreaction on my end, Nick, because that's what we do as human beings. But when Justin Herbert is eating a hot dog and the starting quarterback gets his lung punctured and he goes against the Chiefs and, it's toe to toe. I mean, just that was impressive. I know that you were impressed when you say he's a top 12 quarterback. My God, if you're a Broncos fan, wouldn't you be happy to have a top 12 quarterback? I think a lot of that, too, is jealousy. I'm jealous that they figured it out. And, I was a little down on Justin Herbert coming into the draft. I thought maybe you heard a lot about his odd personality and not necessarily a leader and any of that stuff. Man, he put out, and I'm expecting him to do some good things. But yeah, the Raiders, you've got to take that next step. And you've got to reverse that curse that they put you in last year with the sweep. So to me, man, Vic Fangio, you've finally got to deliver with that defense. I know you've had you've led the league in certain statistical categories, been top 5 here and there, but I want Vic to have some inspired football. I want guys to have fun, because when guys are having fun, they're winning. And the Broncos haven't been winning in a long time, Nick.
Yeah, man, if you put Herbert on this Broncos team with the season he had last year, there would be some dark horse Super Bowl talk. Unfortunately, I do think that's the case. But that just speaks about how talented the Broncos team is around the quarterback position, more so than just Herbert being incredible, right? Like you put Tannehill on this Broncos team, there's talk of them being a Super Bowl team, maybe not beating the Chiefs, but anything can happen in one game. So that's the question mark right now with the Broncos, and it will remain to be that way. Gary Smith coming in, I think they're going back to the Kubiak way. I hope anyway. Physical football, yeah, Kubiak was physical. It was a little bit more coordinated. Aggression though, coordinated physicality, where that zone stretch, right? They're more like dancing ballerinas out there rather than like, the Hogs back in the Washington football team heyday. That's when you're talking some monsters there.
Let's just line up man on man. Yeah. And you see it's so awesome to see the evolution of the Shanahan offense and the Shanahan tree. And I tweeted it out nauseum, something I'll do every year. Why Mike Shanahan is never on the ballot for Hall of Fame is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. The man has 3 Super Bowl rings, including one with San Francisco. He's evolutionized an offense. And you're right, Gary. I believe it was Gary. Gary, you're exactly right, man, with that smash mouth. I want one juke and cut. I want one, put your foot in the dirt and go. And that's what you're going to get with Javonte Williams. And that's what you can get with Melvin Gordon, Nick. He's physical. He's a big back. He looked great. When he did show up, he looked great at least. And I'm not talking about his silly little haircut, but I want Melvin Gordon to do well. It's a contract year for Melvin. What do we know about Melvin? Melvin takes care of Melvin. So if Melvin's going to take care of Melvin this year, that's probably good news for the Broncos, because Melvin Gordon, he can be a physical back. And I hope he takes that step this year.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I see some people saying you don't think the Broncos defense can beat Mahomes this year. No, that's a good. And then with everyone healthy, our D could beat Mahomes. I'm going to say it's definitely possible. The Broncos have been close to beating Mahomes a few times. I think Vic Fangio has a good formula to beat Mahomes. I think the Broncos have crafted the defense this year to go out there and isolate Mahomes, not let him run wild in the back 7 that can maybe take away Hill as well. Also, Hill, Kelsey, a year older. They're still great, but I mean, being in the playoffs that extended year after year, those guys are having more hits. Their bodies are, you'd expect, at least at some point, to start to deteriorate some way. But I think both on the wrong side of 32. So it could happen. I think the Broncos could. This is probably the Broncos' best chance to beat the Chiefs since that game where Case Keenum airmailed Demaryius Thomas on the right side of the field when he was open. It just took a bucket throw, and he threw it out of bounds.
Should have hit him in the honey hole. Something I talked to Mike Pritchard about, former CU buff, great, and NFL Atlanta Hawk or Atlanta Falcons, Seahawk, man. Oh, just the honey hole. Missed the honey hole, and it was a perfect route by
DT too. People are like, oh, he slowed down. He slowed down because it was cover too. That safety was overhanging. Like there was a spot right there. It's a walk-in touchdown. Just throw the guy open. Yeah, missed him.
Well, and I'll give you just a little pushback because you're right. Two things can be true at the same time. I love Pat Surtain, and I think that he's going to add a new element of confusion to Pat Mahomes' game one day. Not this year, because Pat Mahomes, Super Bowl winning quarterback, an MVP, you can bet he's going to challenge a rookie. I think when Pat Mahomes looks at Pat Surtain, he is not going to be intimidated one bit. It's going to take Pat Surtain a little bit of time to develop into the corner that can one day go toe-to-toe with Pat Mahomes. And I think you're going to see interceptions from Pat Mahomes thrown over to Pat Surtain. But what you did not see is linebacker upgrades here. And that's what absolutely scares me. When you were gone for just that brief second, we had a great comment talking about the blueprint for beating the Kansas City Chiefs and what the Tampa Bay Bucks did. While I understand that was one game, that one game was the Super Bowl, and you saw Pat Mahomes under pressure more than any other quarterback in the Super Bowl modern day era has ever been under. I mean, something to the effects, Nick, of what, scrambling negative 300 yards or something on one leg. I mean, absolutely crazy. Pat Mahomes is a freak for doing it, but I just worry about those linebackers because while you definitely needed to help the secondary, man, the linebackers need some help too. And I just really, really worry who's going to cover Kelsey. What did Vic Fangio say, Nick? He said Pat Surtain might cover Kelsey. So maybe I don't need to be so worried about the linebackers if we have that elite secondary.
Yeah, I know the Chiefs used a first-round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but give him the ball. Anytime they give him the ball and take it out of Patrick Mahomes' hand, that's a win in my book. Even if he's running for 5 yards a carry, I don't care. Take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand, make them have to 12-play drives. Good luck.
Well, and your D-line's going to be looking good too, Nick, right? I mean, your D-line against Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line in the run game. Okay, I'll take the Broncos D-line in that scenario, hands down.
Yep, I think so. And Gary Smith saying, I think Fangio is handcuffed our defense. He's zone-minded. That's cool, all. But man, you go Von Chubb's blitz, baby. And then Greg also says, send corner safeties blitz. I don't think that's the way to beat Mahomes. Mahomes is the best. Mahomes is incredible when there is pressure, and that's because Hill and Kelsey absolutely destroy one-on-ones. I don't think you can. You need to win by having your guys up front 4 or 3 rushing, win their matchups out of their own talent, and then keep guys behind them. Because what kills you is when you're giving up the 40-plus yard plays. Those are the ones you cannot have.
I can't wait to see Vita Vea in the Super Bowl this year against Pat Mahomes and see what he could do. Oh man, it's just, it's too early NFC to call, soft. Right? But when we're talking about that NFC South, man, and it's then soft. Like we're talking about the Saints, we're talking about the Panthers. Gosh dang, that Bucs team is reloaded, and you know what? Screw you, Tampa Bay. Even your hockey team's winning now, and all this craziness. I don't even follow hockey, and I'm understanding that Tom Brady has this effect everywhere he goes, and it's absolutely crazy. But I like that last comment with what Von Miller and Bradley Chubb are expected to do. Y'all better get after that quarterback. I want to see some greatness. Von's talking about kicking everybody's ass in practice. That's great. You're going against second string offense at some time, Von. You're coming off of an injury. You're old. People say that you're done. Derek Wolfe is going on the airwaves saying Von hears all that, and he's going to prove everybody wrong. Just watch. I hope that he does. I hope that Bradley Chubb is ready to go. Pin those ears back, and let's go. Speaking of let's go, Dale Hendricks in the house with $3 super. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining Nick and I and John on MHI. Anything to the rumor that Peyton Manning might buy the Denver Broncos? Nick, as you know, the Denver Broncos in the ownership situation, shaky at best. If we want to get into all that funny stuff, basically, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand, the court case between the trust and the siblings it's kind of been put on hold right now with the theory that there are some negotiations behind the scenes going on, mutual negotiations. Then you've got another court case coming down the road in September where it's actually the Broncos taking the Kaiser family to court for the right of first refusal, I believe. So tons of ownership questions. Who's going to buy the team? You hear Jeff Bezos' name. You hear Ann Schutz's name as a local thing here in Colorado. And then you hear Peyton Manning's name. Nick, what do you think about the rumors of Peyton Manning wanting to own a team? And is that team the Denver Broncos?
I think if that happens, it would be similar to Magic Johnson at the Lakers, where he is a minority owner, but a figurehead and definitely a part of the organization. But he doesn't have the financial ability to be the main horse, right? Like he has to be backed and put in somebody that has much more buying power and just investments, billionaires, right? Peyton Manning, he's rich. I don't know if he's a multi-billionaire, right?
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy to think like Peyton Manning wouldn't be in that game? And Nick, you're right. Just for some housekeeping, Peyton Manning and the group that he was with were outbid for, I believe, the Carolina Panthers. So we know that Peyton tried once. And so you know that he wants to own a team one day. You know that he lives here. He doesn't want to uproot his family. But Peyton seems like a guy that wants to take things at his pace and wants to do things his way. I'm sure he doesn't want to get involved or start throwing out his name amid family turmoil over the late great Mr. Bolin and his estate, because Nick, things could get really, really ugly. And I'm afraid usually before they get better, they often do get a little nastier. So I think it's going to be a odd transition, but Dale, I like where your head's at because I think it's an option. I really do. I think it's a potential option, but it wouldn't be Peyton as that sole prospective owner, if you will.
Yeah, just like Magic Johnson with the Lakers. Like I said, they have
and the Dodgers.
And yep. So he's definitely he's got his fingers on it. And I would really if there's anybody I'd trust to get this team on winning tracks, as far as not the general manager, but putting pressure, getting everybody in there, and even just his presence. I think Peyton Manning would be excellent for this team. I'd feel better about it. But he's not a billionaire, right? He'd have to be the figurehead of some other team or a team of investors coming in there. But that would be great. That would be awesome. So yeah, thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the super chat, Joe. We appreciate it. Peter Middleton coming in saying Peyton Manning could definitely be involved though. Like how we brought in Elway. It's a little different than Elway because it wasn't a changing of ownership there, but you're talking about the president of operations. I don't see Peyton Manning being the general manager. I don't think he would step on George Payton at all, and that would be a really interesting dynamic there too if that did emerge. But it's a little different, I think, than Elway, who was brought in more personnel side right away.
If we could only be a fly on the wall over there at UC Health Training Center, right? Because I'm sure, I'm totally speculating, but I am sure that Peyton Manning and George Payton have met, that they've chatted, that they've consulted.
They're just probably right now,
out of the respect that each man has for the other. And don't be surprised, Broncos country, when you're sitting out the hill out there at training camp and you're sweating and you're a little grouchy, and then you see 18 walk through with his little boy, his little girl, and you see Mike Shanahan hopefully show up. You see Broncos come back. Don't be surprised. Peyton still has that good connection, and we see G-Eazy in the house. 2021 Broncos, let's go. How do the Broncos get back to the playoffs, guys? I want your take. Go ahead and get it, Nick. Get it, me. Right now, we're heading into our final segment, so to speak. So, Nick, we've talked about running the ball. We've talked about defensive takeovers. Let's talk about head coaching. Let's talk about situational football. Vic Fangio is heading into his third year as head coach. We know that he prefers to stay on the defensive side. He definitely believes in delegating when it comes to the offense, but he's had some pretty significant issues that have led to direct losses, I would argue, for the Denver Broncos with time management, with things of that nature. Mike Kliss was asked this week on a local radio station if an analytics person was going to be brought in, and he said he hadn't heard that. I'm concerned, Nick. It sounds like Vic is getting his way. The last analytics guy, mutual parting of the ways, Vic didn't like him, and they got rid of him. How does Vic Fangio take the next step as a game manager, as an overall head coach? Because his job is definitely on the line. That seat's warm. And if the Broncos are going to have success, it's either got to be with Vic Fangio now or without him in the near future.
Yeah. He's got to take steps forward, but you have to remember also, this was an issue for Andy Reid for years and years, right? The clock management stuff, the end of game stuff. If your scheme is good enough and your players love you and you're building a good culture, you can have defects, right? Like I'm not expecting Vic Fangio to be perfect. He's still going to have mistakes, and it's important to have some perspective, right? Like we don't want to be like we lack perspective. What was it? The Jaguars game when the Broncos marched off the field at halftime and they're only up by like 7 and they're supposed to beat them by like 28, right? People are booing like, oh my God, are you serious? But that's got to have some perspective there. It is important for him to do well this year. And I think that stuff matters a lot more when you have a smaller margin for error, which is the case with the Broncos right now, given the talent on the team they've had and the inept quarterback play they've had. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it won't be as much of an issue this year. There'll be some point this season where Vic Fangio is going to make a mistake. Hopefully it doesn't cost them the game. But yeah, man, people are ready to burst and spank him for that at the soonest mistake because, they're, what's the word I'm looking for? The snake bit, a little bit snake bit by that.
Well, it's because it's all in context, right? So if the offense is marching down the field, right, and Vic doesn't call that timeout, people are going to say it's because he wasn't paying attention to the offense, and that argument can be heard. Doesn't always pay attention to the offense. He's usually pacing around, grouchy by himself, and I get it. You are who you are, and I don't want you pretending to be anyone else. But Nick, why is Ed Donatell on this team? Really? Why is Ed Donatell on this team? I'm sure he's great in meetings. I'm sure he's a great coach, but that man can play. He can call plays, Nick. I'm so mad just trying to get the words out. I see Ed Donatell at the press conferences. I'm trying to ask him questions, and I want to ask him, you and Vic are boys. Why doesn't Vic trust you? Why won't Vic relinquish some of that control? Because Vic Fangio knows more about football than I will ever pretend to know in 10 lifetimes. So if he could relinquish some of that defensive play calling to Ed Donatell, that would open him up for more success. I know it would. Vic Fangio is not a dummy. His football acumen is through the roof, and I just don't feel like he delegates well on his side of the ball, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, at the same time, right, he's the head honcho there. The Broncos brought him in to be the dude to call the defense, and he's the one to do that. Now, maybe he needs to delegate this year, but also I could see him putting more on his plate because he wants to be the reason that if he goes out, it's because of him, and maybe that causes him to drown even more. It's like when somebody's panicking when they're drowning, right? It's like it gets even worse when that happens. So we got stars here from Peter saying, Luke and Nick now becoming my Broncos for breakfast. I'm loving it. Thank you very much, Peter, for the stars. We see you. We appreciate you. Over in Cambodia. Hope you're staying safe out there. I'd love to get out to that part of the world at some point in the world. Or at some point in my life.
I was complaining about mosquitoes here, and I'm sure you complain about mosquitoes there. Imagine mosquitoes in Cambodia. I'm sure Peter, he's probably like, y'all don't even know. I'm dealing with it. Clayton, love you, Nick. Love you, Luke. Appreciate you so much, man. You guys are great. Casey Martin in the house. It's amazing how a great quarterback can make a head coach look brilliant. Yeah. I wonder what Matt LaFleur's record would be without Rodgers. Casey, I love it, man. Coming in with a very, very good comment. Casey's right, Nick. How would you react to a great quarterback and some of those warts that they can cover up? We know that Peyton Manning certainly made receivers better, but you know what? He helped Tony Dungy a little bit too, and some of those other coaches that he's been with. How would you react to a potential MVP quarterback helping Vic Fangio look a little bit better as a head coach?
Hall of Fame players make Hall of Fame coaches. It's cliche for a reason. And we saw it last year. It's a 1-year sample size, but like how mediocre were those Patriots last season with Tom Brady moving on? And then 1 year Tom Brady goes over. Bruce Arians has always been a good head coach, winning a Super Bowl 1 year. So
BA, we love BA. We need to like get us a BA like MHI something like dedicated. We love BA, dude. And I know this is we cover Broncos, but Nick and I just have a huge man crush on Bruce Arians. He's just unlike any coach that I've read about. I wish I haven't met him or really been around him, but I would love to go total fanboy on BA. But yeah, man, here's the thing. It's just really tough when you're trying to change this culture of losing and you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. You don't know if the head coach, this is going to be his last year. You literally have to take it game by game. But Nick, you proved a point for me, and I'm going to keep it going by saying Hall of Fame players make Hall of Fame coaches. How many Hall of Fame players have played under Mike Shanahan?
A good number.
John Elway, Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp, Steve Atwater on defense, right? I know, but still head coach, and various others in San Francisco, right? But not a head coach, I suppose. But yeah, just one of those, get Mike Shanahan in the hall for the love of God, and let's just make things right. But Chase Wellner's coming in here. Let's pull that one, John. I mentioned this on Dove Valley Deep Divers with Eric and Lance, but Locke was top 5 last year in average yards of separation for his targets.
Interesting. I'd love to see the source to that, wherever that came from. Hit me up on Twitter just so I can look at the data myself to see how close it is, right? Like if everybody's off by 0.01 yards, then, what does it actually mean? And what does it mean year to year? But this to me means that Locke was... This to me, if this is actually true and I'm interpreting it the right way, this speaks more highly of Shermer, right? Getting guys open, primary reads being open, and less of Locke, because if his guys are open and he's still inaccurate, that probably, it's not on the wide receiver at that point if his dudes are open and he's missing them. But that's just my interpretation.
Yeah, it's tough. I looked into a little bit of some stats too. I can't remember the number offhand, but everybody knows that Teddy Bridgewater led the league last year in most interceptions in the red zone. We all know that, the famous clip of them not practicing 2-minute drill and all that kind of stuff. We all know that stuff. But did you know that when Teddy Bridgewater was playing with the Saints in that Sean Payton offense, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the red zone? So don't sleep on Teddy either, and yeah. I get Sean Payton, different offense, right? Not Pat Shermer, different offense. But when we look at what we've got with Teddy and what we've got with Drew, Teddy and Drew have both said competition brings out the best in the overall positional room and the team. I can't wait to see what these guys got going. And speaking of Drew Lock, obviously everybody saw the crazy news, right? You got lug nuts flying off the highway in Kansas, and thank goodness Drew was okay and everybody was okay. And thank goodness for law enforcement out there having our Broncos QB back, and they love him, right? Kansas City, one of Kansas's sons, and they're definitely proud of Drew. So it was cool to see that Drew had a cool moment. But Nick, I'm ready to start hearing some news soon about Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater and some passing camps, right? 4th of July is over now. The training camp's right around the corner here in a few weeks. When are the quarterbacks going to get together? Because it's a question that Mike Liss asked both guys, and Teddy said, I'll probably get some guys together down in Florida. And Drew said, yeah, I'm going to go, throw with my quarterback coach back home, and I've got some friends and stuff like that. But are Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock going to throw to their actual teammates in Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, a la Peyton Manning, Eric Decker at Duke?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see what Teddy can do this year.
Wouldn't you like him to?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? I mean, Drew, come on. Drew needs the reps. Teddy hasn't been here. He needs the reps. Jerry Jeudy, I don't need you running routes in the sand. You're the best thing ever when it comes to running, but I need you to fix these quarterbacks. Jerry, I need you to help me help you. I feel like this is Jerry Maguire right now, man. I need that. And I'm not saying you need to go total Peyton Manning Boy Scout, but Tom Brady's got guys he's throwing to. That Russ Wilson, he's throwing. The greats do great things, and it starts before training camp. And I'm expecting that news to happen because Drew's been working his ass off. I know that for a fact. Teddy, he's a worker as well. So I just hope to hear some news soon. I don't know, not the biggest deal ever, but I want to hear it.
Yeah, you do want Jerry to do that, but also is Jerry in a position where he can be that type of leader, right? A first-round pick coming off of the year last year where he has to work on his own stuff before he's in any sort of position to have clout in the locker room as somebody who can call other people out, right? There's something to be said about years in the league, what you've done, how much you've improved. If you have your own mistakes, right? It's the glass houses thing. Where, how can you come in here and, be throwing words like that, throwing verbal punches when you're out here dropping balls. And I'm not saying that the drop balls, I'm concerned about that with Jerry Jeudy. If for some reason on Twitter this week, a lot of Drew Lock, Jerry Jeudy Broncos talk turned into a finger pointing of blaming Jeudy for Lock and blaming Lock for Jeudy. I'd probably back Jeudy in that battle, just given the data we know historically for the positions. But, I don't think Judy's in a position to be able to do that. I think if anybody can come in here and say that, even though he's had a smaller sample size, it's Cortland Sutton, right? You saw him take those big steps year 2 to year 3. He's been working extremely hard. And also that payday's coming. Maybe you wait until that contract because when the money comes, that's when players start to listen oh man, that guy got paid. I should probably listen to what he's saying there. And speaking about listening to what they're saying here, we got Casey Martin coming here saying only 18 days until training camp. Thank you very much, Casey. We appreciate that. It looks like Dallas Jeter was being rude. I don't know what's going on there. He said that we look like Pee Wee players, but You know what? I was a great Pee Wee player, a Pee Wee football player.
Oh, Pee Wee. Oh, yeah. No, me too. Everybody was, right? Weren't we the best ever? And we were going to go pro, and then our dreams were cut short starting in Pee Wee, I guess.
I was great at blitz back in the day, man.
Yeah. Were you coming up? We're like Gumby, bending like Vaughn and everything.
There was one at like the pizza joint where it was John Elway, and I just running around with the old Broncos, whipping on the Jaguars. It was a good time.
But I just, Nick, I just want leadership, and I get it. Like every year we talk about Peyton Manning and going to the receivers with Duke, and it gets a little tired, but the point doesn't. The story's old, and that's tired, and I'm played out, and I get it, but the story isn't. And talking to Orlando Franklin, man, he's telling me stories about how the coaches would give out grades and Peyton would kick them out of the room. And the team would sit there, and Peyton would just ad nauseum rewind and rewind and rewind until whoever effed up that play finally owned up and was like, all right, this is what I did. This is how I need to fix it. And the Broncos don't have any one player right now that can do that. I'm sorry, they just don't. Colton Sutton, yeah, he's a beast, but he's been in the injury room. It's hard to have that loud bark when you're trying to come up and heal. When that dog is healing from an injury, it's hard to respect his bite just a little bit. Not saying he doesn't deserve it. And yeah, there's only one Peyton Manning, but man, I want somebody to take a grab of this team. I want, especially on offense. I think defense, you've got the leaders, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson. I would argue even Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson are very respected amongst their peers in there. You've got Shelby Harris, that the defensive line, they rally around that man. And especially Vaughn and Bradley Chubb. So I'm not worried about the defense, but leadership on offense, I don't know where it's coming from. I really don't.
Graham Glasgow, I guess, is the only name that
Dalton
comes to mind.
Dalton Reisner. I mean,
does he have enough skins on the wall? I don't know if he's.
Does Graham Glasgow though? Because
he's got paid. He got paid,
but I would argue. Oh, all right, we're gonna split some hairs. Okay, so Graham Glasgow, he got paid, and because of that, I would argue if he didn't get the number that he got, Graham Glasgow could definitely be a casualty this training camp, because he didn't quite play up to par. But you know what, Nick? Neither did Dalton Reisner last year either. And the Broncos have to have both of those guards trending up. Dalton Reisner is very vocal, right? And who doesn't love Dalton Reisner? I expect him to get better. He takes his craft very, very seriously. But the offensive lineman can only command so much. It's got to come from the quarterback. It's got to come from one of those two guys. I don't think it's Drew's personality. I don't think it's Teddy's personality. So it's going to be kind of tough.
I think it is Teddy's personality. I think Teddy's can come in and command the room. I think people really respect him. Apparently he's just an all-around good guy, pure hearsay. But I think also once he comes in and he's showing like, okay, this dude's competent. He knows what's going on. He's been there, done that. Secondhand for him. He's not coming in wide-eyed. And you'd hope from that, from Drew Lock entering his third year as well. But I think if there's anybody, honestly, the more I think about it, Melvin Gordon got paid, Graham Glasgow got paid, but Bridgewater's seen a few things. His fourth team, many different systems, played with a lot of different guys who speak really highly of him. Maybe that guy is Bridgewater. And maybe that's another reason that Bridgewater could be a guy who wins his quarterback position this year. Not even just because of the on-the-field ability, but accountability on the field and getting guys in the right spot where, he's going to go out there. He's going to do his job to the point where he can tell other guys who are not doing their thing. He's not out there making his own mistakes. He does have limitations, obviously, but because of that, he can point out saying, okay, you messed up this route, blah, blah, blah. You didn't hold this block long enough. We need to fix that next time. Where I don't know if Drew Lock can have that same ability this season based on what we've seen.
And I completely agree with you, because he does get the respect of his teammates. And that's where I think you're going to start seeing the locker room divide as to which quarterback they want to start. Doesn't mean it's a broken locker room. It just means these players want this quarterback to start and these players want this quarterback to start. They're all going to go play. It's not like they're going to have a strike because their quarterback didn't win the competition or whatever. But I think Teddy definitely commands that respect. And to Jerry Jeudy's credit, 0 drop balls in OTAs, because if there was just one, someone would be talking about it. So props to Jerry Jeudy, props to Teddy, and Drew too, man. I know Drew's been working. Let's see how he does. Roughing the passer coming in. Please pray for my dog Andy. She has Lyme disease. Thanks. God bless and have a good night. I'm so sorry to hear that, roughing the passer. Nick and I are both pet owners, as are many folks on MHH's community. Thoughts and prayers for you and your family, because Nick, I'll be straight up honest with you, man. I've cried harder over the damn dogs that I've had to lose in my life than some people, because they become such a part of your family. They're loyal. They love you. So thoughts and prayers, man, because our fur babies, they matter, man. They really, really do. So yeah. thoughts and prayers. Our hearts are with you.
Yeah. Making me sad, man. I'll be thinking about your dog, Andy. That really sucks. And I hate ticks too. Ticks is like my number one phobia. I'm scared to death of them. Probably being an infectious disease epidemiologist is another reason. But anything that sucks blood, no thanks. But thinking of your dog, Andy, that's a big bummer, buddy. Brother. God, okay.
I know that was tough. Here's one thing I will say. And I'm not saying, just a vet told me this, and I'll never forget it. First time I had to lay one of my beloved German Shepherds to rest, and she had told me the best thing you can give your animal is the gift of peace. And it's stuck with me for years, man. And yeah, I'm a big old softy, so we gotta roll on. We're gonna clean this up a little bit. It's Saturday night, MHI. He's Nick Kendell. I'm Luke Patterson, and John on the ones and twos. We talk anything from Broncos to family to dogs to 4th of July to culture, food, drinks. This show gets off the rails and we have a lot of fun with it. Casey Martin, we'll throw that one back up there real quick as I transition. Peter Middleton, ticks are nasty. Ticks are gross, dude, for sure. Casey Martin, by all accounts, Drew Lock is a great leader. He just doesn't win enough. You're right, Casey. I mean, like, he says the right things. Drew Lock takes all of the blame in the press conference and never blames anybody else. I don't like it when he's, you guys didn't play, so you don't really know. I don't like that, but it's a lot of players do that, right? Drew has never, ever, ever, ever thrown someone else under the bus, even though he could have thrown Pat Shurmur under the bus. Pat has no problem throwing Drew under the bus, so I certainly understand that and respect that. Casey, you're right, but
I want to get to this one. I think the Drew Lock stuff here, when you're talking about it, and I think Higher Learnings kind of has a point as well. Is Lock a leader or is he more of a friend? I did just hearing about him in the locker room, like, oh, who's the first person giving the aux cord to? Who's the one dancing in there? It's like, oh, it's Drew Lock. I want a quarterback out there who, when he comes by your locker room, your sphincter gets a little tight. Like when Peyton Manning came to you after you messed up, oh my God, like I'm having a hard time breathing. Same thing you had with Tom Brady, same thing you have with Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, right? Like there's a little bit of fear there as well. It's out of respect. But right now, I don't know if Locke has that. I think he's much more just one of the guys, which is fine. But talking about leadership and accountability for a young offense that needs direction, I just don't know if you see that.
My guy Cecil wrote for DenverFan.com this week talking about, look, this is Drew's time. Otherwise, he's going to be a career backup. And that's true. Everyone loves the backup, Nick. The backup quarterback's the coolest guy ever. And most of the team likes him. I don't want that to be the case for Drew Lock. Drew has the talent. He has the arm. And people like likable. Drew Lock. Yes, he's a very likable kid. The state troopers liked Drew Lock. Like, he's a likable young man. He doesn't get in trouble. He holds his family, friends, and faith very close to his heart. I respect that as a grown man. He knows his why, and I respect that. So I just want to see Drew win a little bit, man. Don't we all? Because winning absolutely cures everything. And you know what cures everything? You know what cures the blues? Some MHH, man. And being able to rap with you guys. We all have good days. We all have bad days. Sometimes we have tech glitches. But you know what, guys? In the grand scheme of things, we're having fun, and that's why we're here. And we want to give a big thank you to our superstars tonight. Gary Leeds Palmer, Travis Weber, Stu McPeak. I'm saying it all day because you guys have been keeping it going. Andrew Morrow, Dale Hendricks, Peter Middleton, and the Slide and Glide brothers. An extra shout out to Peter Middleton, Dale Hendricks, and Andrew Morrow. You guys absolutely killed it tonight. Dylan Von Arx is always on our team as well. Peter, good morning in Cambodia. That's absolutely awesome that you're able to check in with Broncos country across the world. And Mo Ron, my guy, absolutely loved Mo Ron in there today. Gary Smith was killing it. It was a fun show, Nick. And I know it's usually the highlight of my day, man, getting to talk to you, getting to talk to Broncos country, because something that you and I are both passionate about, something that we both do professionally. But if your heart's not in it, then you shouldn't be in this, because I absolutely love it and I have a blast with you guys. And same thing with you, John. John, you keep the show going. Thank you so much for all you do.
Yep. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate everyone for joining us today. Sorry about the computer saying, you know what? I'm going to take a little nap. Quick little shut-eye to update, but thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Luke, for holding down the fort there for a second. You can find us both on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP and myself at Nick Kendell. And we got Zebulon coming in here. Thank you very much, Zebulon. Drew can't be a leader. Oh, the stars as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Zebulon, Omega, Kevin Lind. Drew can't be a leader until he's at least isn't questioned as a starter of his position. I hold out hope he turns it around still and really thinks he takes the job this year. Well, that's a good point as well, right? Like, how can you be the dude for your team when you're not even sure if you're the dude at your own position right now? So we're fixing to find out, right? And if he takes it and wins it this year, then God bless. That's best case scenario for the Broncos. We really hope that happens. I hope that happens. You know, you're not supposed to have rooting interest here, other than the team itself. But I'm still hoping that's the case, because I do like Drew.
I want to see good football. I'm sick of watching boring football. I'm sick of being tired and having to chart plays that I've charted 2 years in a row. This will be the second Pat Shurmur offense in a year. If I see Royce Freeman flexed out in the wide position, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. So no, I hear you, man. Higher learnings on the way out. Thank you so much for joining us with us tonight. Dez, I see you. Roughing the passer. Can't forget you as well. And guys, don't forget tomorrow, the Huddle Up Boys are at it as well, I believe, on Sunday. I'm not sure if we have a midday show. Stay tuned for that. But if you ever have any questions about our schedule, because we have so much content and so much show, whether it's on our digital side or on the podcast side, you guys go to milehighhuddle.com, get at Twitter at milehighhuddle. He's Nick Kendell, John K on the ones and twos. I'm Luke Patterson saying go Broncos.